What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again once more. And as usual, as per the program, we know what we do here, you know. Of course, disclaimer, right? For fair use, for any material that's gonna be shared in this here post, right? So let's do it. So apparently, there is a diplomatic role between Kenya and South Africa. Well, we shall know more as everything unfolds, right? So, this is their great equalizer to the golden seat, if you know what I mean. Right? BBC, back at it, still at it. And this here is a very peculiar case. We dipped in it, right, before the so-called lockdowns were announced over there. Well, now this is coming out. Hey. So they say he ordered drone flights to North Korea in order to provoke a response. Do we know that narrative? Does that narrative sound familiar? And they go on to say 2 of his top officials were charged with the abuse of power and benefiting the enemy over the alleged drone flights. That's quite a spin right there. But let's move on. So this situation happened. Well, I wouldn't use the word accept, but again, it is what it is. Right? Like I said, even when the Rwanda program popped up, right? Well, this is, if I'm not mistaken, the president of Equatorial Guinea, and he recently gave an interview, and this is what he said, right? We are working so that our country does not suffer the attempts of destabilization from abroad, because there are many threats of harmful elements, negative elements that want to create problems for countries. For example, terrorists, interference in internal affairs of our states, those who work to try to take advantage of our natural resources with the situation of instability that can reign in the country, because they act as the saying goes, the river is turned upside down, fishing profits. That's not a direct translation, but still it holds true, right? It's their proven tactic, right? In order for them to extract more efficiently, they have to create chaos within countries. And that is what he said, right? And he said this whilst he was in Russia. Well, people are figuring out that it is rather than it's a societal problem. Here they go, these white supremacists. They know all about white minorities and what that does to their bottom line. Just look at South Africa. That's why they are targeting, right? Yeah. Prove to us you are afraid of war. Prove to us that the provocations of Russia onto Russia are not justified. If not, then yeah, it is what it is. This is what is happening up there in Serbia, right? Call them beardless men in suits. My guy said those are the most dangerous. Right? Well, this fight with Dangote, right? Before Dangote became the big news as it were as of now, I put a lot of pressure on Dangote and the government of Nigeria to revitalize their whole oil situation. And of course, even then, there was wars, and I knew that the wars would not stop. And again, I insist, right? You have to fight for everything that you have. This is the unfortunate situation that we have dealing with barbarians, right? A horde of barbarians, right? When they come, we welcome. That's what we do. This is their national policy, right? They don't wanna, I don't know, fracture their health system. It's a good decision, keeping in mind that these are the ones that cost the most. So, nobody saying nothing about this, huh? Like these statements were not said or spoken, rather. Well, ABC7 has some Trump cut ties with wacky Marjorie Taylor Greene. Emphasis on wacky, right? Or sometimes they call them, these are just conspiracy theorists, right? So you know what time it is. You know what time it is. So, this is coming out of Canada, right? Where, Trudeau, we know what type of timing they are on, right? Now at least the world sees, right? Where were we? I did that by mistake. Here we are, right? So, Bulgaria, as you can see, they are hard starving. They, I don't know, taking money out of Russia's pocket, apparently, right? Short break. This is like real life projection right here, right? General Easy, really. This guy has been playing the Prince for a really long time, the whole Blade series and all of that. What is his real name in Blade? If you know, you know. They call for the overturning, right? So regardless of the other side and what they propose, no, right? And as usual, I shall show you the tendency, right? It seems that the world is on fire right now. Right? So these human rights watch groups, these are the ones that we need to be watching, right? These non-profits, right? They say they come and look, right? They have diplomatic protection and all of this. Yeah, this is real life. Right? It's a catastrophe over there in Japan. I've seen all the footage. People sleeping in trains outside, being knocked out, drunk. And she says, work, work, work. She really knows Japan, people. She really knows it. Well, this video here for my melanated brethren, this does not look good. And like the comment said here, 50 years later, we are still having the same exact conversation. Well, I've not forgotten about the whole video that we've been doing, the series that I made the first video about, right? We're gonna get to this, right? I think the word order is strong now. Times India. Well, look at this. Now, this is some real effort right there. Well, the God they don't preach about, apparently. Well, let's see the features. A wheel within a wheel, right? A wings, and a person. Who is that? Is that the creator or something familiar? Right? And of course, people have gone further to actually explain what a wheel within a wheel actually meant, rather than the symbolism thereof. Right? But if you were to make it into a three-dimensional thing, it wouldn't support, right, the inner wheel. But really, it was the resonance, right? The patterns that, what do they call it? Symmetrics? Right? Cymatics or something like that. Right? After a vibration is and the surface come into contact, the patterns that form due to the vibration, right? And then of course we have the wings. So this here is just an angel, very specific type of angel. And of course, an angel cannot claim to be God, right? So we have this here situation going on in Mexico, and apparently 120 people are injured. I call this a simulation, just like the Madagascar situation can be considered a simulation, or rather a dry run. So the opposition leaders reportedly, right, they are talking about investment opportunities. They are not the ruling people, no, they are the opposition. And this is the common trend. Even what they're trying to do here in Tanzania, it's the same thing, right? They see major opportunities, right? And this is the opposition, right? So you get the picture. And this is all IMF and World Bank. They are the ones in the meeting. Well, we've been knowing this. The timing was too perfect, right? But again, like I said, Gaddafi's problem was he forgot about the South. He didn't really care much about the South, and that was his downfall, right? talk about upheaval, uproar. Simulation. To execute it, where do I have to spell it out for you? Well, this is happening over there. Well, their shift has now moved to Imran Khan. Like I said, he's pivotal, right? They have already said he's in the Epstein files. If you haven't heard, now I'm informing you. Right? Like I called him, the wild card of that region. Huh? Apparently the reports, and we're gonna see how this unfolds. Right? They're saying there's heavy shelling going on, right, today on Monday. Of course, more of the Russia-phobic rhetoric, right? They inserted Mr. Trump in the middle over there. You need to cut ties, okay? Huh? So this is coming out of Qassam Brigade. Of course they are. 4 billion. This is finna rise. So yeah, right? Because the idiots are on some foolish timing, right? Lebanon is gonna complain to the UN. This is the best they can do after the occupier starts building a wall, right? And as you can see, UN trucks over there. I thought this was funny. You look like Van Diesel. Right? Of course, Pakistani now, they're trying to cause turmoil inside. Right? So, accusations of targeting Imran Khan's wife, Imran Khan in the Epstein files, and then the explosions. We're gonna see. We're keeping track, right? That's what we do. Right? And of course, Japan thought this was a joke. Right? This is not a joke. To the Chinese, this is a very serious issue. I think the world needs to understand that. Well, keeping in mind who their neighbor is, how do you think this will turn out? I know, but it's better that we see it. So apparently this is the tactics. And the other explosion was just negligence, is it? Right. They had a couple explosives that they confiscated somewhere apparently, and they put it up in a, what is it, a police station or something? Yeah, lessons. Alleged Israel used shadowy NGOs, we have been talking about NGOs, to traffic Palestinians from Gaza. Right, so from their perspective, their plan is still on, brothers and sisters. So what does Ramaphosa have to say about this, right? So the Southern President Ramaphosa said 160 Palestinians have arrived unexpectedly to Johannesburg O'Hara Tambo Airport cannot be turned back, right? That's unwise, despite lacking proper documents, right? He emphasized compassion for the people fleeing conflict while authorities assess the situation after the group was reportedly misled by an unregistered organization. At this point, I think the civilians should pull back and it should just turn into a war zone. Full stop. Right? So some should go northwards, others southward. Right? And then it's war. From my point of view, strategically beneficial. One less tent to be blown up. So how then can I be against it? I understand the principle of what should be and what is happening to these people, but again, I cannot ignore the reality. I hope you understand my situation, right? What's more important to me was never land. I was never interested in the land, ever. You can go back and check in my videos and whatnot. I was never interested in land and anything like that, because that's not the point. The people are. So again, what are we fighting for? Because if we know, then we give priority, right? We give priority. If it's people, then land. If it's land, then people. Then that defines how you fight. Does it? Or does it not? This is not even the first time, right? There are many cases that I've seen where the synagogue of Satan basically just chugs nades towards UN officials, like it's I don't know, a game or something. Yeah, 30 just 7 warships. They wanna see you do something, right? Because you say you are down with the plan to support Taiwan, or rather the annexation of Taiwan, just like how you try to do Hong Kong and all of that, right? Or whatever they're trying to do everywhere else, even here in Africa. Wow, it's the end of the slides. Almost expecting there was more. So let me get something. Well, in this segment here, I do now see and understand that there are some individuals that love the idea of Africa being liberated, but they don't really understand what they're saying and the effort it requires to keep that sovereignty in this day and age of dominance and worship. And that is unfortunate, because ideas are nice, but the reality isn't. The reality is full of hard decisions and war, basically. It's basically war. And we have to be realistic about the current situation of Africa and its connection to its freedom in general, right? And from where I stand, like straight up divine intervention. That's what has held Africa together up to this point, right? So anyway, today I was thinking about an aspect of technology and its role in ensuring our sovereignty as a nation, right? In all aspects, right? When it comes to food, most importantly, aspect of security, just the whole thing in general, right? And realistically, we can dream, right? Africa is full of dreamers, but realistically, to materialize these ideas, these dreams, it costs a lot of money which we do not have. That's the truth. The money that we do not have, okay? We do not have. That's just the reality. And why it's not that there's lack of money, no. I believe that the money which is available is stretched out thin, right? So many things to do, and all of them are of importance, right? It will reach a point surely that we'll even start to invest even more and more in technology, right? But when we talk about R&D, guys, you need to know the figures, brothers and sisters, right? We're not talking about fiction here, right? This is real life now, right? We are grown over here, right? So R&D, for instance, that's some serious money over there, right? So I've been listening, right? I've been watching and listening to how much the West and the East are investing in technology, and there are some insane numbers out there, brothers. Insane numbers, that's all I can say, right? So how did they do it? Okay, we can examine that, right? At least, right? So first, I think it starts with the specialists, right? The specialists, right? So a lot of schooling, right? And a lot of schooling, I mean a lot of schooling, right? Because this is a long-term investment, right? You don't train doctors for 1 year, you know? It takes a long time, right? Even longer than a presidential term, let's just say that, right? That brings into question another issue of funding and continue. I don't want to go there, right? But let's just say it is longer than a single presidential term to train a doctor, right? And there are other larger sciences or fields of science out there that even take longer, some not so long. But again, education, right? And this education has to be like strategic, right? Because there are many fields out there. So a strategy has to be designed so as money can be allocated and people can be trained, right? And after that, they injected a lot of money, right? We have institutions like what we call it in Tanzania, your COSTECH, if I'm not mistaken. I used to see their trucks in UDCM. There was a pickup. I think it is COSTECH. Infusing a lot of money over there, right? To even start executing projects that are far beyond in their research and development, right? Boost them and enable them to start, because it's all about scale. After you have a product, then it's about scale, because the scale then determines the price. So yeah, that's the true money matrix, right? You put in money to get money, at least the people that play fair, right? Some other people just put their souls and it's just a money glitch, you know. You remember that statement I used? Right? And of course, all of their sciences mostly because of the supply chain and whatnot, right? Based on what was around them, right? The resources that they had access to, right? In order to have proper control over the production chain, so to speak, right? So electronic components, microchips, all of these things, right? You can't have a modern technological industry, you can't even produce a single microchip. Are you kidding me right now? You know how much money it takes to develop a microchip processing industry, or a plant rather? Like I say, dreams are nice, right? Dreams are nice, but if you knew how much it takes to produce 3 nanometer processor, yeah, or chip rather. So resources, right? They looked around, for instance, us, we look around, we have iron and gold and this and that. How can we then fully utilize it using our own technology that has developed itself, right? So they feed into each other, so to speak, right? And of course, there was a focus on the military aspect, which was a priority, right? I would say them people at one point, they thought about 3 things: guns, right? Guns, food, and shelter. These were the only things that the basics, you know. Guns, food, and shelter. And they invested a lot into their military, right? Because of course we can say they were under a different threat, right? They were under a different threat than, for instance, Tanzania, right? If Tanzania was Russia, then yeah, the same trajectory. We would have missiles and nukes and everything by now. That's another whole other situation. I think I had a conversation about it about a year ago. Or 2. Can't even remember right now, right? It's so blurry. Right? So, military. They needed to ensure their own protection, right? We see countries like Iran with all of these, right? For instance, what do people know about ballistic missiles, right? Missiles that fly at Mach 14, for instance, right? Or Mach 10. Do you know what type of physics or type of engineering that is crucial over there, right? To make such a weapon, that's a whole multiple fields, or rather disciplines, combined together to realize this dream, right? So we have the fuel, right? We have the rocket boosters, right? We have the material science, right? Because this missile is flying at a high speed, right? And it has to have a particular coating outside of the missile, right? At this point, these coatings are state secret, right? These coatings that shield or keep the missile together while it's in flight headed to its target, right? Now, as Tanzania, can we develop ballistic missiles? It's not our fault, right? It depends on the threat that we face. That's how we arm ourselves, right? We didn't need much, right? Even now, we are not thinking about striking any country, I don't know, 2,000 kilometers from where we are, right? But there are countries that have that need. Countries like Russia, China, Iran, right? The Yemen, right? They need that capability. So it was top priority to them, right? So environment has also played a role, but again, for us it has to be like intentional, not situational, if you catch my drift, right? So they emphasized a lot on their protection, right? Their protection was important, right? So there's no reason, for instance, for us not be able to get permission to start producing Kalashnikovs here, right? Just for stats, because the expertise that will be learned from there, the knowledge will be transferable. That's the thing. The most interesting thing about the military industrial complex. It's like space science, right? The fictitious space science. Because I just had a spectacular display of meteorite, so-called, right? So it combines, I think, all the disciplines. It combines all of the disciplines, right? And if you want to rule the world, you have to master either space or war, right? You can't have war while hungry. You can't do war without your protection. You can't do war without medicine. You can't do war. You get what I'm trying to say? So most of the knowledge gained under such circumstance has the tendency to spill over, right? Has the tendency to spill over into all fields of science, all of them, right? But we did not have such situations, right? Again, we had a conversation about this a long time ago. I'm just refreshing your memory, right, for those who are around, right? Because this is a continuum. It's not the beginning. All right. So last but not least, specifically engineering, right? Because Africa is a continent under construction, so to speak, right? It's under construction, right? It's a construction site, right? A lot of unfinished projects, different stages. Some of them the money is gone, right? It's just a disaster. Some projects are just plans, right, without funding, and it's a construction site, right? It's a construction site. So we can leapfrog all of the earlier bottlenecks, for instance, right? Earlier bottlenecks when it comes to engineering, right? And it's ever evolving, I don't know what to call them, techniques, right? Or ways they could do a particular thing, right? So for instance, right, casting concrete, that is changing, or rather it has changed countries like China, right? And it's not a hard thing. It does not take 6-7 years to learn how to properly, it's all mathematics, ratios and stuff, right? So casting concrete for construction, right? We have the resources here in our country. It should be more effective, right? And of course, most importantly, it saves time, right? And of course, there is an issue of cost and all that, right? You're casting concrete, right? But again, time is of the essence, right? Like I said, presidents don't have that long, if you put it in retrospect, to do anything, okay? Right? So again, the other aspect is every form of discipline that involves connecting parts of the territory, right? That involves bridges, roads, communication. These are, even I can consider them to be even short-term investments that the government could make in its people, right? So the interconnectivity within the state, right? Interconnectivity within the states, right? A very important aspect, right? Creating bridges, metaphorically and literally, right? Of course, they also have achieved much when it comes to transportation, right? Transportation and the transport system, and how much it suffers due to maybe external factors and all that, right? So they developed a robust transportation system that has redundancies and backups, and basically making it failure not an option, right? Or it will be a crisis, right? This is how reliable, right? And also here we are called the Great Lakes region, right? Here where I am, right? Of course, Tanzania is building ships and all of that, right? We can be proud, right? We should be thinking bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? We should have our own oil tankers, right? Why not? Why not? But again, in order for us to build said oil tanker, people have to go learn from the masters over there in China, and then come back, right? And then we have to talk about iron, right? and where we're going to get the resources to build these vessels, right? And the technology that goes along with it, right? You have to then develop radar systems. It's a whole situation. All I'm saying again, Africa dreams are nice, right? Dreams are fantastic, right? And and this is not to say that we are, I don't know, not capable of inventing. No, that's not the point, and that's not what I'm saying, right? All I'm saying is that for an invention to become a reality, it takes a support of the whole, right? It takes support of the whole. Again, it depends on how much you know about these things, right? And of course, the thing that we specifically have to learn is maintenance, right? Maintenance, right? It's a whole field within itself, right? What you have built, can you maintain it yourself? Because just like it's a principle by now, machinery, they break down, right? They break down. So what then, right? So I'm just giving out observations, right, of the reality and how can we reach, or rather attain, that goal, right? And the reality is we need help, a lot of help, right? Just like how their civilizations were younger, just like ours is now, and of course we taught each other, and we cannot afford to be too proud to learn. That is ridiculous from where I stand. And if we cannot learn, then I don't think or believe that we should be sovereign. Because what then, right? You want the situation in Africa to continue like this, right? Moving but not moving, basically, well, I don't know what to call it. Is it retardation? Can I even call it retardation? No. You are growing up, but you're not changing much. I don't know, it can be called retardation. All right? Growth is there, right? Growth is there, and we need to give credit when credit's due, right? We need not to be so ungrateful, right? Progress has been made, hard, but still, there's a long way to go. And for some people, maybe contemplating how far that is, it's a scary situation. So they rather live in La La Land, right? They rather live in La La Land and stuff like that, right? So if you want to get stuff done, then all hands on deck. That's what it is, right? We have enjoyed a long time of peace, and yeah, we should be ahead. But again, it's a whole loop within itself, right? So tech, that's what I've been talking about. This here is Jackie Chan in South Africa asking himself, who am I? Right? The great movie that I watched a long time ago. Didn't really get the context, but unfortunate for me, I do now. What are these? Avatar people? So anyway, let me put a pin on it right there, and we're gonna hear from each other when we hear from each other. Was it a lot? Perhaps. What can I say? Sorry. Prince is signing out. Love you. Bye.